Hey, friends, let's do it again. Had a good time streaming earlier today, and I still have to get this project done, and so I think it makes a lot of sense to keep on going. So I'm gonna try streaming a little later, which is kind of my test run at this point. I'm looking for the right times that work best for viewership for you guys. Um, I have a little bit of flexibility in terms of when I can get a stream going. And so today I'm actually going to experiment a little bit, and I'm going to see what things are working, what times work better for people in terms of viewership. So the morning went well, had a great time. Was thrilled to see quite a few of you jump in, so that was really fun. And so now we're at this point in the illustration where we're ready to make, essentially a next step. We're ready to take it further. So the morning was spent mapping out all of the different things that had to go into really kind of like the foundational layer. So for those of you who are tuning in later and tuning into this stream, I'll catch you up to speed. Essentially, what we're doing here is we're creating a graphic for Easter. It's part of a larger series of visuals. These visuals are part of a 7-week series plus Christmas plus Easter. So it's 9 series graphics cumulatively. And all of those graphics are under the umbrella of God's story. And so I just got some fun swag from the client that I'm working on for this God's story. And then each of the stickers, they all kind of go together to form. Here's one. This was Tough Texts. I actually did a live stream of the building of that as well. Let's see here. We got building blocks. This was the first in the series, first series graphic. Wisdom Talks, covering wisdom series or wisdom literature. We got Rebel Prophet. So all of these different graphics function around this hexagon driving primary visual. So that's what we have here with Who is God. We have a visual that is going to drive the series, the title of the series. To go back a little bit, this is where we landed with Christmas. Jesus has come, and you could see the primary element here is this hexagon. It's in the space, so you can see it, nestled into the environment. And then we're really playing off of all of the other visuals that we had created up until that point. And so some of them even include elements. You have the Cascade Mountains on the left. You have a village. In this case, is meant to be the story of Jesus. And so, a little Bethlehem situation going on. Even a little bit of a kind of a mini Easter egg with manger and star. So this is really the driving force for the visuals. You can see here, this is one of my favorites. I really like the way the crown functions in the space. But this is a series graphic. So that's kind of what we're starting off of. Color palette, we're going for muted tones. We're going for earth tones. And so we built that as we went. We also have a style guide of sorts that basically governs a lot of the decision making. And so that makes this process a lot easier because there's a lot of other problems to solve. So one thing, even as I'm looking at this older graphic, I see some opportunity for the graphic that we're working on here. We can probably get a situation here where some of the vines actually go over this graphic itself. That could be interesting. So we'll play with it. But at this point, the morning was spent mapping out really this foundational layer. We have our outlines pretty solid. And so from here, what I want to do is I want to go through and start coloring and filling things in. The left side of this is going to need more work because it's going to need some palm fronds. And so I need to land what I want those to look like. And then over on the right side, we're going to do leaves and we're going to do flowers. And so there's going to be more of like a life-givingness to that. And then in the middle, we're going to have dead branches. That's going to be our representation of Good Friday. So that's where we're going. This is where we are, where we're starting from. I'm actually going to start a new layer here that's going to be dealing with palm fronds and another new layer that's going to have the flowers and the leaves and stuff. I still don't know how I'm going to solve the palm fronds, and so I'm a little bit. I don't want to say I'm not stuck necessarily, but like I don't have a direction that I want to be going yet, and so I'm going to work on figuring that out. What is it that we want to be? How do we want to visualize palm fronds? So I am fresh off of lunch. I got a nice coffee that I'm enjoying, and so I think I'm actually going to try to tackle the more difficult problem first, while I have the mental energy kind of peak state here. So let's go palm fronds, and let's see if we can figure out how we can make this sort of make sense. I know that this isn't what a palm tree looks like, and so we're going to be breaking the rules a little bit on, biology, but, so it goes. So in my head, I have this, I don't know if this is like an old world illustration of a palm frond, but essentially it's something like this, where I'm going to do a rough sketch of it first just to get it out of my head. It looks a little bit more like a Venus flytrap, so I don't love that. Most palm fronds do come down to here. So, and then the challenge here is that palm fronds in general are tricky. So there's that. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, that could work. I'm surprised. I didn't think I would like that, but I actually think that could work. Let me try refining this a little bit. We don't have to go for hyperrealism here. I mean, if we did, actually, we would be ruining the drawing in the sense that nothing else is hyperrealistic. But let's see here. I mean, I don't know. That could look pretty cool. And then it could join in. Interesting. And so then what I'm playing with is I'm playing with the idea of then having it, basically transition into the piece itself like a leaf. That's what it's kind of the mind, what I have in my mind right now. I don't know. I mean, that's pretty interesting. So, again, I get it. We're breaking the laws or the conventional approach on this. The other palm frond that's kind of a common expression is more like this. It's tricky because they both have sort of this look to them, but they're a lot more. So where I'm going to run into some issues is that my style of illustration for this piece is outlines. And so what I'm hesitant about is I don't want to, I don't want to get into something that's like crazy complicated to illustrate if I can avoid it. I don't know. This looks pretty good too. And this way I can still do, coloring in. So what I like about this is that it feels natural to the piece. In a way, this feels like it could function a little bit more almost like logically. What I don't love is that I don't want it to get lost as like, that's just the style of leaves that he did, the style of petals or whatever. I don't want that. I do want them to be known as palm fronds. So that's what I'm wrestling between here. So I'd probably do a branch. I guess I'd probably just do it all as green, in here or something. So that would be a very rough version. I mean, I don't know. In terms of the palms that were present in that area, you know, you have a this is similar to the date palm, this guy right here. But I really like the round. I think I'm going to go with the round one. Yeah, it's unique. It definitely says palm frond. So I think we'll go that direction. And so I think I'm going to deploy some copy and paste on this one. I tend to be a original drawing guy. I don't like using copy and paste if I can help it. Just because I feel like the inconsistencies and the little idiosyncrasies, excuse me, of what I'm trying to do, I think those things really help with communicating what I'm trying to communicate with the style. Okay, so we'll get after it then. So I'm going to start. Okay, and then we're going to go up. Going to clean it up because if I'm going to be copying it, I want to make sure that it is resolved the first time. Though I guess I could go back through and clean it up as the way to create the uniqueness in each one. Okay. Don't necessarily love how strong some of these lines are. Let's move this a little bit. Yeah. Okay, and then we're going to drop this out so that we're getting, and then this needs to come out. I actually like it best when it goes up and down like that. And then that'll transition into the vine. Okay. And then I'm going to add those creases or whatever, the little folds. Don't love that. Okay. I'm wondering if this needs to be thinner. Or really I just need to originate from the same spot. Because in a palm frond, they all are coming back to the same spot. I don't like that at all. I don't think I like it all going back to a spot. I think I just like the lines kind of generally moving towards the center. But I don't think it has to go. So I'm thinking through, like, how am I going to shade this? I'm not going to, normally what I would do is I'd do like a light side, dark side. I'm not going to do that on this because I think it's just going to add too much attention. I don't know. We'll see how it unfolds. Okay, and then I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I also have something on a different layer here, or a different part of the drawing that I want to get rid of. There we go. Okay. think we look okay. We don't look too blurry. Sometimes when you scale up, it doesn't look the best. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that as a starting point, and then I'm actually going to trace over it. And then I'm going to use a thinner brush here, because I think part of what I'm struggling with is that it's too, the thickness of the line isn't feeling right to me. So let's see what happens here. Too thin. Let's try 3%. Yeah, I think this is going to be it. Yeah, this is going to give me, I think, some nice character to the lines, and like the bend of the fronds adds a nice element. This is an old kind of visualization of palm fronds. It's been stuck in my head, and I can't quite place it. I can't place it to know if it's Art Deco, if it is like ancient Near East, if it's Mediterranean. I can't quite place where I've seen this type of expression, but it's stuck in my head as almost this like sunburst type of a look, and I really like it, but I'm having a hard time figuring out where it's coming from, which means I can't find a source to like emulate it well or accurately. So I'm just kind of winging it here, but I think it's a cool look. So this line's a little bit out of sorts. Okay, I'll take them in a little bit more. I don't want too much detail, because I don't want the detail of the frond to be the thing that's like, that's the big takeaway here, because that's not what it's intended to be. This is intended to be a visualization of palms, so that this belongs or makes sense as a Palm Sunday type of a thing. I think I need to take this in. So we're going to trim that out, thin that line down. Palm trees have always been a really complicated thing to draw. And I think part of it is because there are some really nice simplifications out there, but they don't always work for the rest of what you're trying to communicate or visualize. And so I designed a logo for the church that I was serving at, and they wanted a palm tree as their logo. And man, it took so many iterations to get something. I had a friend help me out, actually, because it was so complicated to land the plane on a look that looked like a palm tree and not other things. So it's always been a real complicated solution. One of the ways that a lot of times people will visualize it is they'll do this, and then they'll do this, and then the little kind of hitch in the middle, or you can do, things like that. I think this one is the most sort of stereotypically like palm frond. But when you think about Palm Sunday, like, that doesn't feel like what Palm Sunday is about. That doesn't feel like what makes sense as the palm fronds that are being laid down. Really, the ones I always think about, I think of the ones that are this kind. Where there's the, like that. But I don't know how to make that match what I'm trying to create here. I like that. But when you get into the outline world, I think it gets a little bit more complicated. I don't know. Let me try it. I guess you could go. Eh, it's not terrible. I mean, it needs to be going up at more of an angle, so let's try that. Hmm. It doesn't. I don't know. It's tricky because when I do it this way, it doesn't like it doesn't read clearly as palms for me, and I think that's the problem. The older, the different view of palm fronds does communicate that to me. Let me try. That's why I wanted to tackle this when I had the most mental energy. Let's try this. So we have a frond, and then we have see that doesn't. It's got to be straighter. So let's try that. These are too big. Let's start here. Let's start at the widest. There's like a curve to them that is important to capture, or else it doesn't look like a palm frond. Still doesn't look like a palm frond enough to me. It looks like a fern actually, which is not what we're going for. Let's see if another sip of coffee makes the difference. I'm gonna look up over here actually. Let's look at palm fronds. Yeah, so it's very similar to what I'm already wrestling with. Well, so there's a round one. I'm going to turn off the vines layer so we have a little bit more flexibility. So the other kind that exist are going to be like, they're almost like this. And then, they do the same thing. It's kind of a riff off of this one, but I'm not feeling that. And then a lot of them are like zoomed in. Yeah, I mean, there's some that I guess are, they're looking like this, and then it's similar, to this. It just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't feel palm enough to me. It's hard because essentially when you're trying to break something down to illustrate it, you're thinking through what exactly does a palm tree look like? How is it made? And then how do I rebuild what it is that I'm supposed to be, like, what are the core elements that I need to capture in order to communicate it well? I'm seeing some here. This is interesting. So I see some other options that are more circular, more like this guy. I don't know. I don't want to go away from filling in the blanks, or, filling in the color on the outlines, filling in the outlines with the color. There we go. That's the right way to say that. Because I feel like that breaks what we've accomplished. Oh, here we go. So I'm thinking more of like palm leaf fans. That's what I have in mind. Interesting. Huh. Or circular leaves, or a fan palm. That's what I have in my mind. And I like them because they take up a good amount of space. But they just look like palms. Maybe it is Egyptian that I have in my mind, like that kind of a visualization. Huh. Interesting. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to represent a lot of the individual leaves. That's a major element here, because that's what makes up a palm frond. So let's just go with it and start illustrating something and see where we end up. And so the normal palm frond that I'm going to look at, it's going to have, actually it doesn't really taper as much as I am thinking it does. I'm thinking of it, I'm thinking of it as like going really, really, like the frond, like the leaves or whatever you call them, get really, really small, but they don't. It's just that their direction changes. So in essence, you have, let's see. So as this goes up the frond, they change a little bit in their length, not much. But then where things start really changing, and this is what kind of defines the shape of the leaf, is that the tilt starts going forward. Interesting. And they do bend forward a little bit. Okay. I don't like it. Oh, man. It felt like we were moving in a good direction, but I don't like it. Visually, it's just, I don't know. Try cleaning it up, see if that changes anything. Like, technically, each of these should taper in. And then there's like a connection to the actual stem. So like I need to keep cleaning it up before I make a judgment. Earlier in the first stream of the day, this was one of the things I was talking about. illustration takes time because you have to go down the road and you have to see, is this how it works or not? You know, like, does this work well or does this not look good or communicate what I want? Is the composition off? Most composition problems you're going to solve earlier in the process. You know, you're going to block out large things and get a sense of it. But stuff like this, and I mean, as you get more experience as an illustrator, you're going to have all these things resolved. Like, if somebody wants me to draw like a log, I know how to draw a log. Like, I've already done enough work on that type of a subject that I know how to draw that, so that when it comes up, I'm not experimenting. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it. Okay. So I think we're going to be working with this guy. So let's do this. Let's start moving this guy around, and let's assume that he's going to be where we land the plane. And then we will, we'll go from there. We'll see if that is actually something that we want to stick with, or if it's something that we don't want to stick with. But at this point, we're going to need to, we're just going to need to see what we think. All right. So we're going to do 3 fingers down. And we're going to duplicate it. And we're going to do that. And we're just going to keep on going. Oh, I'm not sure why it's... see what we got here. Oh, we do have a 4th. Yep, okay. All right, so at this point, I'm just throwing them out there, just laying it out. We'll see what comes of it. Something that I was thinking about, I think it'd be cool to have stuff go over the Who is God. I think adding that element of layering is going to be a win visually. And so I'm actually going to probably do some of these palm fronds to go over it, at least where it makes sense to do so. And then they'll layer over each other too. I think that's another cool element to play around with. Duplicate. We're going to move it. It's actually easier without the pencil. Okay, how many more do we want? Let's do a couple more. Down there. It's working okay. It's working okay as a as like an element, like a decorative element. It's forming a bit of a pattern, which I'm super okay with. I think this might be a good solution. I get it's not perspectively, whatever accurate. But again, this is a little bit of what it's like when you're drawing a picture. It's your job to make these decisions in terms of what works and what doesn't, where you want to land. Okay, it's kind of fun. I think we could taper these guys in to, connect them to the vines and make it look like it's a, where it kind of fits. Great. All right, so we're going to start here, and we're going to find where that is, and then we're just going to begin rotating things around until we get a look that feels a little bit more natural in terms of coming off the vines. No, I don't want to do scale, so I'm going to undo that. Okay. Next, so we just have a ton of layers now of these different different palm fronds, which is great. And I don't think it's going to be an issue that they're all copied. I think we're going to be able to make some changes here. Oh, that's a bummer. So duplicating that one, but then putting it up to the edge, it actually cut it off. So that's not going to work. So I guess let's ask this question. Is there a way to make that work? I'm actually going to get rid of it. and then I'll copy another one later to replace that one. Okay. So this one, we want to, oh, same problem. Goodness, that's annoying. Oh, no, we're okay on this one. I'm going to go here. Okay. And that's going to be over that vine. And so that one's going to cover it up. We're going to get some fun depth here. I'm excited about that. Let's go up on this one. It's growing upward. Okay. This guy's going to be trimmed off, I think. Maybe not too much. So let's have this one go the other way. I'm actually going to just add these back on. Okay. So now, let's see what else we got here. This guy, this is the one that I think has a kind of a fun opportunity here. I'm going to move him up. Maybe, yep. I'm going to move him up above this. So that'll be a fun element to add that creeps over. And then I'm going to make sure I want to make sure I add one or two more of those things. And then we'll do the same thing on the flower side. I would like to do that with a vine on the bottom, so I may do that as well. So we'll see. But this is the beginning of I think a cool new idea or a cool addition. So that one we did. That one we've done clearly. This is the next one. Okay. So a little bit of a, I don't know if tedious is the right word, but it's a slow process. I'm okay with it. This is a little bit more of like the designy, layouty type of approach to things, but I think this is going to be a faster approach than drawing them all by hand. I think in particular because I don't feel terribly like adept at drawing these things, these fronds, and so yeah, dig it. So yeah, so we're running into a little bit of a like, well, I'm not the best at this part of it, so let's problem solve. How do I still be effective? How do I still be successful at, making this thing happen? So this is going to be another one that I'm going to take up to the top. It's going to be there. Fun. I like to get it. I don't want to infringe too much on the other space, on the Good Friday space, but that'll be good. Okay, keep on going. Okay, we're getting close here. So I want to make sure that these are going different directions so that it doesn't feel like it is just a stamped, a brush or a, image. And then this is another one where I think we have a really fun opportunity to have it. Oh yeah, look at that. Perfect. And so I'm going to drag this one up. It's going to overlap. Press and hold. Nope. There we go. Come on. There we go. Love it. All right, making good progress here. Okay, I'm going to do another rotate here. This one, I think, swing that one over here. I know I'm going to lose some of it when I commit to this position, but it's okay. Okay. And then we're going to go to this guy. I kind of wish there was a way to, and maybe there is, to not have it cut off. I don't love that. Oof. So here's an interesting problem that's developing. This is starting to look a little bit like brambles more than palm fronds. So we'll see. We may have to do a little bit of a like special color treatment with it to make sure that it's clear that we're at least trying to draw palm fronds. We will see. So this guy's going to be up here. Probably like this. Maybe he'll go up. Okay, and then I need one more down here. So let's go to that guy. We're going to duplicate this, and we're going to move him down to this side so that we can get another leaf right down here. Yep, I think that works. Okay, so that's what we got. So that's interesting. Oh, man. Do we like it? It's a cool pattern. It's a cool texture. It might feel too much like flowers. There's a certain flower that looks that way. I forget the name of it, but I don't know. I don't know. So let's do this. These guys, let me see which is the one. Is this the one? Yeah, that's lower. So this guy is not up top. These three up here, I'm going to do this. This is just for cleanliness for me. I'm going to merge these guys together. And then I'm going to do the same here. I'm okay with these all being on the same layer now. Which, as I say that, I'm scared. Let's do this. I'm going to duplicate this guy because I want to keep a palm frond independent from all the others. So this guy here, he's going to be frond. Turn it off. And I'm going to move him down actually even further. Okay. So now I'm going to duplicate. Nope, not duplicate. I'm going to merge all of these together. Because at the end of the day, so one of the problems you run into in like Photoshop is you are you're working with assets. You're not you are, but you aren't. Like in an illustrations context, you're not working with assets in the same way. Like just redraw it if you have a problem. So that's where it gets really interesting, is it's not that difficult to redraw it. So here we are. Okay, so this guy I know I want to move a little bit. This is gonna make it easier, so I'm not spending the rest of the day like moving, trying to figure out what layer is what, all that kind of stuff. So now I can just select and move. And so I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to go to my vines layer and I'm going to start erasing. I'm going to duplicate that as well, because at this point it makes sense to prepare yourself for this to not work. So what I'm about to get into is I'm about to get into the struggle of not knowing where I'm going, but destroying my artwork to find out. So rather than me then having to undo 30 steps, I'm actually going to just duplicate these layers so that I have them and I can access them again if I need to. So that's going to be the smarter play here. So now we're going to go to our vines layer and we're going to start erasing with a brush that is not crazy big. There we go. Okay. And so all I'm doing here is I'm removing the portions that my palm fronds will cover so that I can begin understanding if I like what I've done. And I can go back through and clean these up. That's the power of drawing a picture, is that you have the ability to go back through and undo what you've done. Just redraw it. Sometimes that takes time, of course, but this is an easy way to see if you like what you did and where you're going, and if you want to commit further to it. I mean, another real practical observation here. Does it even look like palm fronds? Like, that's part of what we're assessing here. We're trying to figure it all out. And the best way to do that at this point is to commit and begin checking it out. I mean, so far, I think we can pull it off. I think we're at a point where we can pull it off. And we'll keep going to see. I'm probably going to take this all the way. Like, I'm probably going to erase it for everything before I even feel comfortable making a judgment. So now there's another way that you can do this. You can color over it, because we have them on 2 different layers. And so if you go that route, you don't have to go through and erase everything. You can just start by coloring the layer underneath. That's probably a faster way to do it as I'm thinking about it. The thing that I want to be doing here, though, is I'm going to need to taper in the palm fronds as well. And so this feels like an easier way to do it. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I'm going to keep going this route because for some reason it feels like this is the better approach. I don't necessarily have a strong justification as to why that is right now, but that's what I feel. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with it. I think probably a piece of it is this gives me the flexibility to layer differently if I want to. So as an example, if I want to have this part of the vine go over the palm frond, I can. But with color, I'm not going to have that same flexibility. Like, the line work is going to need to change, essentially, is what it comes down to. So, okay. There's actually a faster way to do this that I just thought of. I'm going to try it out. In a second. I think it'll only be a little bit faster, though, as I'm looking at it. Yeah, I don't think it's actually going to help. Okay, keep going. The other part of this, too, that I was like keeping in mind, I enjoy this, I enjoy this part of the process. So I don't have a problem with taking these extra steps. I think in a way what it does is it helps me get to know the drawing better and get to know some of the decisions better in terms of, how am I drawing these palm fronds? And in a way it lets me study those decisions so that I can either change the way that I'm doing it, or I can commit to the fact that, you know what, yeah, I like this. I'm confident in this being the best solution. And so I'm a big fan of studying your own work. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, look at the experts, look at the masters, look at all these other people. I mean, yeah, there's value in that. I've never really been terribly drawn to that personally. I've been much... I feel like I get better when I study my own work in terms of how I can improve it. I don't want to fall into the trap of just copying what other artists have done, because I think there's a pursuit of your own style that needs to be happening too. I think some of that for me, that revelation of sorts, came to me when I was really wrestling with what is my illustration style? Can I even illustrate? And as I began letting go of some of the preconceived notions that I had about what an illustrator does or is or looks like, their final piece, it really changed the nature of how I just of how I approach my own illustration. I've gotten a lot more free with how I illustrate, and a lot more confident in, yeah, this is what I draw. If you don't want this style, I mean, that's great. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. They're like, hey, I'm thinking about, I need an illustrator for something. It's great. What are you looking for? What's your objective? What's the feel that you want to have in your final piece? It's like, well, I don't want it to be whimsical. Great. We should talk to somebody else, because that's the type of work that my approach is best suited for. So, you need something for kids ministry, or you want to display something. I shared a pathway graphic the other day on, I think I did it on LinkedIn and on Behance. But it's like, map your church's pathway. Well, I mean, whimsy makes a ton of sense there. If you go uber corporate, then it sort of feels like a sales funnel or an affiliate program or something. But when you present that kind of content or that kind of information in a way that's whimsical, it really adds a lighthearted perspective to the way that the organization sees things. And it helps your tone of voice if that's the direction that you want to go. Not every organization wants to be that way. Some want to be, super hip and super trendy, and some want to be serious and thoughtful and, whatever. Not to say that whimsy doesn't mean thoughtful. They're not opposites per se. But the way that you present your information matters a lot. And so I wouldn't be able to embrace a whimsical style if I was constantly fighting against what my natural inclination is as an illustrator. And so leaning into that is a really important part of just growing as an artist in general. But yeah, whenever you're creating, you're going to be drawn toward a certain style. I always wanted to be a real, like, messy, trendy designer. Man, that's just not my makeup. Just not wired that way. I will communicate very clearly, and I will put together a piece that's sound in its design, but I'm not the, like, I was going to use a reference that would be unrelatable for many designers today, but a David Carson type, where it's super grungy and muddy and, lots of different elements all strewn together, a little bit on the chaotic side, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just not that's just not how I design. Never have, never will. It's not my style. But until you embrace your style, you're never going to be able to communicate in it or create work that reflects it. And I think when you create work that is within your, like, that's in the style of, just aligns with who you are, I think that the work is a lot better. So that's why I'm a big advocate of getting to know yourself and getting to know how you are wired and the type of work that you produce, because that's going to be the best work that you can produce. Sometimes I think we fall into this trap of being afraid that we don't offer enough to everybody, but we lose sight of the fact that you can't help everybody. You can't design for everybody. I can't illustrate for everybody. Like, my goal with my business is to help churches create healthy creative teams. But I'll tell you what, if every church in America called me today, I would not be able to help them. And so I think when we have that perspective of, oh, I'm not in this to help everybody simultaneously, it allows us to lean in a little bit more. And so if a church needs an illustration that's whimsical, awesome. That's the church that I want to talk to. And I'm the person that they want to talk to. But if they need somebody, or if they have a different vision for where they want to go with the project, then they should go to the person who embodies what it is they're trying to accomplish. So, I don't know, a little bit of a tangent, but so it goes when you're drawing and when you're creating. Part of the pleasure, I think, in the process is letting your mind wander, letting your mind think about different things and work through different ideas. I find it to be a very helpful state of mind for me. All right, we're getting close to having all of these fronds layered appropriately by adjusting the line work of the vines underneath. And so when we zoom out, we're going to be able to get a pretty decent perspective as to whether or not we feel like it works. The other thing that this is helping me do, and I'm actually glad I didn't try to find the easy way out, I'm actually finding that there are some cropped parts of these palm fronds, and that needs to get addressed. And so in the process of adjusting these lines here for the texture, for the depth, I'm able to identify some of these other problems. So that's very good. Very good. Okay, we are close. So back to the vines layer here. We're going to keep on plugging away. The other thing that this is really going to be helpful for is we're going to keep going with this. So like this doesn't stop with just the palm fronds. We're going to be doing the same thing when it comes to the flowers and the leaves on the other side of the drawing. And so really what this is helping us do is it's helping us understand some of the challenges that we may be facing on that side. And then it'll help us really be prepared to navigate them more quickly. Every drawing that you do teaches you about more of that drawing. And so it's really, I think sometimes when we try to hustle, when even if we're on a deadline, we're real tight, whatever. I think one of the problems that we run into is that we end up creating a problem with we understand the drawing less because we've hustled, or we don't set ourselves up for success that way. So let me see what's going on here. I thought this is cancel. This is up here. That's right. We have a different layer of palm fronds. So these are, I'm going to rename this so that I can keep everything organized. These are going to be top fronds, and these are going to be lower fronds. Okay. All right, so here we're going to need to erase top fronds. So what I'm doing here is beginning the work. Oh yeah, see, I like that extending in. I think that's good. So now it's looking like these are growing out, which is exactly what I'm going for. So how about that? It's exciting. Don't want it quite as extreme. Yep, love it, love it. Man, this is exciting. It's exciting when it works. What? Why you do this? Oh, there's a little bit of vines that needs to get erased here. Okay. All right. Man, illustration continually challenges me to trust the process, because you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know what's going to work and what isn't. And when you're too concerned with does it work, I need to rotate this real quick. Hope it doesn't mess everything up. Why is that all? Oh, that's why. Interesting. So on the layer preview, it rotates it as well. That's fascinating. So I'm looking for vines. You just don't know if things are going to work in terms of your ideas all the time. You have a good idea, and as you get better, you are more confident more quickly without having seen it. But my goodness, the way that some of these things come together, like, it's really exciting, and a lot of times it's just unforeseen. You just can't anticipate it. So I think that looks pretty cool. It looks like they're growing out of it, which is interesting. I think that's good. Feels like that's good. That's what it's supposed to be, kind of. I'm gonna curve this guy down a little bit, and I am on vines. Yeah, I think it's working. Okay. So now I'm going to go back through, and on the lower vines, it's going to be, or lower fronds, it's going to be a lot easier because they're all on the same layer. So let's get cracking. So again, we're not necessarily looking for realism here. We're using this idea of vines to carry through everything, and then we're looking for how do we connect all of the dots between the different things that we're talking about when it comes to Easter, Good Friday. So this one's an interesting problem now because I'm going to change this. I like how they're growing out like leaves. That's what I'm trying to get at, is I want them to be a little bit more leaf-like. But I think that means this guy's going to have to rotate a little bit more to feel like he's coming out of, like growing out like a leaf would. Okay. So then that means we're going to have to go back through on our vines layer. We're going to have to correct this. And then we're going to need to erase some on the other layer, or in the other areas. Okay. These are pretty thick lines. Okay. Pretty decent fix, I think. And then we're going to go through here and we're going to erase some of that. Some of that. I need a little bit more here. I guess I could have just drawn the line all the way through and erased it. But I chose what I chose. Okay, great. We have resolved that. Okay. And now we're going to go back to our lower fronds, and we are going to bring this guy in. And then we're going to go back to our vines, and we're going to smooth that out a little bit, blend that guy in there. Reminds me a little bit of roses in a way. I don't know exactly why, but kind of does. All right, let's get another sip of the old juice. I went with the Grande Vanilla Cream Cold Brew today. It is a chilly day, but a cold brew felt like the right answer. Haven't been to Starbucks in quite a while, and there you go. This guy might need to get rotated. Let's see here. Does this work? That'll be all right. I like having them kind of shoot out a little bit too. So they're not, I like mixing it up. Okay. We're back. Are we still on fronds? We're still on fronds. Okay. I'm going to open this up. Drop that in a little bit. One of the things I love about illustration too is that it encourages you to keep your eyes open in life. It's kind of funny. My son actually has a science project going right now where he is growing beans in the kitchen in a bunch of cups. And so I've been paying attention to which ones are performing better every day that I'm in the kitchen, which is every day. And one of the things that's been kind of fun to see is then when I approach my work with, in this case, this illustration, I'm actually like seeing some of these elements come to life, because the way that the plants, join together, the way that the branches branch off, leaves connect, all that. I mean, I'm literally staring at that right now in this illustration. So I always think that stuff's really fun to get a good, just to get a good awareness of how life works around you, how the world functions, how God designed plant life and life in general, whether you're drawing people or clouds or in this case, making up fictional plants of palm fronds connecting to vines, we can still reference the way that life has been created in the way that we're illustrating and the way that we're creating. And so I love that about illustration, is that it prompts that awareness. For me, it makes me a better student of the world around me. And I think that's, I mean, it helps me understand who God is, in the sense that God's a creator. He made stuff. And so when I understand his creation, I understand a little bit more of how he works and what he's designed. And I just think that's pretty cool. And then as you're like in the throes of a drawing, there's a real clear awareness of some of these details that you may miss otherwise. All right, I'm going to take that guy down there, and then I'm going to go over here to lower fronds. Makes me laugh. We had a teacher in college in one of our classes, and he would always go choo, 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 choo. And so I just made that noise unintentionally, but made me laugh that that was an art noise. Oh man. It's funny to think, I didn't really have a strong desire to work in a church out of college. That was the only opportunity that God opened the door for. Lots of other doors closed, but that was where I ended up. And it's just funny to me to think, when I'm studying art in college, I'm like, man, I want to work at a skate company. There's a lot of other things that I wanted to do. And this is the path that, this is where God wanted me to be, I guess. So much so that all the other doors, all the other opportunities closed down. And so to now be able to serve multiple churches through my business has been a ton of fun. It really feels like as I look back, it's like, yes, things are starting to make sense. I can see the connections there. Kind of fun. All right. So we got a little bit of a problem here. I don't love this last palm frond up here. So I'm going to see if I can, am I on the right layer here? Yep. Okay. I'm going to see if I can grab this guy and clean things up. It's got to be going in the same direction, I think. I don't know if that's worth the trouble. Let's see here. I think I'm going to erase this guy, and I'm just going to start over with another frond because I don't like how much work that looks like. I'm just going to go straight over to my vines and clean them up first because there's quite a bit of stuff that needs to get addressed. And so rather than trying to piece it all together, it makes sense to just go further back in the process and then clean it all up. Okay, so I'm going to do, this guy looks pretty good. I'm going to grab this guy, except I'm on the wrong layer. Okay, so I'm going to grab this guy. We are going to do duplicate. And then we're going to go move. And then I'm going to put him right here. That's going to be a better position. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and combine these two because I want them to be on the same layer. That's fine. And then we're going to go back to our vines layer. And then we're going to trim out. Oh dear. Forgot about the big eraser. Trim out some of these things. Great. All right, we're going to lose this whole thing, which I'm actually very okay with. I had mentioned earlier that I'm going to have to navigate the fact that I'm ending some of these vines in a way that may or may not make sense. And so one of the things I'm doing actually is I'm strategically placing some of these fronds to block those. And so what I'm doing is I'm basically saying, well, if I can't draw something that maybe works, or even if you're drawing it correctly, that doesn't mean that what you have drawn isn't a distraction. So let's say, for example, I'm drawing hands, and the hands are correct, but they're a visual distraction. It makes sense to trim them back. You know, like you don't want that to be the focus of the piece. That's just not the priority. And so that's a piece of what you wrestle with when it comes to illustration sometimes. It's not even a matter of I don't know how to draw it. It's a matter of this can't be the focus. And so you want to set it up so that it's not. All right, that feels a lot better. Okay, I think it's pretty fun. I think that's a nice nod to Palm Sunday in a way that is unconventional, but I think it's going to clearly communicate that it's palms. And so I'll color them accordingly. So we'll have a vine that is a certain color. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's going to work out. I feel happy with that. Great. And I still have some of these tips here. So like here's one, fine. It's great. That's not going to be a distraction. Part of me wonders if I need another frond down here. I don't know. I'm not going to make that call yet. I can always add it later. Okay, we are going to now so we got our fronds done. We are going to move over to leaves. This is taking longer than I thought it was. I didn't think that the fronds were going to take that long. Totally fine that they did, but it's surprising to me that it took that long. But I like where we're going. I will say, one of the things I found over the years is that when you're drawing something, there's different phases of refinement. And sometimes you draw it and it does not look refined, and so you got another round and another round. This looks way more refined than I thought it would be this early in the process. So I think part of why it took more time is because more refinement was having to happen in order to get us to even like a satisfactory place. So that's my take. So now we want to decide, how do we want these flowers to look? How do we want these visuals or these leaves to look? So let's do this. We got a new layer. I'm going to call this one leaves. We're going to start with leaves, and then we'll do some big old flowers. I like doing the layers because it helps. It helps be able to focus on one layer of thing and then move to another and then move to another. So I like it. I'm liking this idea of copying again. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a leaf that I like. I don't know how we want to do this. We're not really playing with a ton of depth. And so I'm not too worried about that. I mean, keep it simple, right? I don't know. I kind of like the stems. So let's see here. Can we get a stem on this? Like, is that? I don't think the angle's right. So all the fronds are pointing upwards. It seems like it makes sense for the leaves to be pointing upwards as well. Let me play around and we'll see what happens. Okay, that's not what I wanted to happen. So I like the visual consistency or the repetition of this idea of the stem onto the palm tree, and then the stem onto the leaf itself. I think that's nice. This actually makes more sense to be layered to me, so to keep that line there, because essentially it's like that stem goes underneath the leaf. I don't like how this looks. And then can we make it go up? I don't like it pointing up. That looks weird. I think because leaves usually aren't pointing up. I mean, I guess there's a chance that they could be like that. It doesn't look right to me. They got to be pointing down. So they're going to be pointing down. Also, leaves are smaller. And so even though the vines are out of proportion, I think something more like that could work. Yeah, I don't know. That could work. But I don't think I can do copy one. I guess I can mirror it. Let's try that. I'm going to duplicate it. And then I think you can mirror it, right? Flip horizontal. How about that? Perfect. So then we just throw them everywhere. And then you can rotate them a little bit and they'll still work. Okay, great. Now I don't love this original one, so I'm going to polish that up. But I think we got a good plan here. Okay. Still don't like this stem. It's okay. I don't know. So part of the complexity in a situation like this is like, what kind of leaves do you want to do? I don't know. What kind? Does it matter? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna look at a lily. A lily is gonna have, I think, longer, like, not fronds, but like, it's like they're like strands, or like, I don't know, reeds or something. I don't know. Let me look. So the resurrection, is there like a flower? Resurrection flower? Let's see what people have to say. That's not helpful. There is a plant called the resurrection flower. Real resurrection plant. Okay. There's another one called a resurrection lily. But again, we're looking at like reeds sort of looking. That's not what I'm going for. I mean, a lot of places, now you're just getting into like what churches have done before. They got a bunch of like roses and carnations or whatever, just sort of your standard a bouquet from a florist kind of a solution. That's not really what I'm going for. The thing that jumped to my mind was like a passion fruit, which I know maybe is a weird thing to go to. The flowers are really cool. Oh, whoa, never mind. Those are way more complex than I was thinking. They're definitely interesting, just really complicated. Well, what kind of flower? Let's see. Resurrection plant. That's interesting. So this isn't critical. Like, this isn't something that has to be a part of what it is that I include in the drawing. But I figured I would check and see if there was anything visually that's connected to the resurrection that really, that worked visually for what we're doing. I'm actually a really big fan of including some of these small nuanced details in the work that I produce. And the way I always like to look at it is, how do I present content in a way that gives this like second layer of understanding opportunity? So how do I present something in a way, and then somebody looks at it, and if they know, if they understand, oh yeah, this plant that was used in the resurrection, or oh that's a bitter herb, or oh that means peace or whatever. Like I just love having those layers in there, and so I think something like that is a really powerful way for us to communicate as visual communicators, kind of at another level, to add on and to support the message that's being communicated at a larger level by the ministry team, the pastors, the whatever, the sermon itself. All right, there's nothing that's really compelling here to me in terms of flowers, so I'm just going to make it up. But in terms of the leaves themselves, I think those could look fine. They look kind of like generic leaves to me, which is fine. I don't need them to demand too much attention. So let's see if I can get a stem in the back here that feels like it works okay. Oh, mercy. That's too big. I'm not digging it. I think it's because I don't like the angle that the... Oh, that works okay. That might be it. Okay. And then just cut it off there so that... Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to save myself a little bit of time. Shoot. Get rid of that. And then let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think that'll work all right. Okay. So now we're going to go through, we're going to duplicate, and we're going to mirror. Now we got our two sides. So we got some there. All right, so I'm going to start with the right-facing leaves. Oh, drat. Of course that happened. Dumb. Okay, so it it cut it off. So forget that. Duplicate. So I need to make sure now that I don't put these close to the edge to start. I love that it forms an X. I think that's fun. Okay, so there. Okay, so now I can keep going. This was easier without the pencil last time. Okay. These are all going to rotate as well. So we're just doing like we did last time, where we kind of laid it all out so that we have what we need generally where we need it, and then we're going to go through and we're going to then like rotate it, refine it, tweak it, all of those kinds of things. But this is that starting point of just sort of giving us an overarching, this is what we need. Great, we're good to go. And then we can refine it from there. That's going to get tricky for sure. Duplicate. I want to make sure I'm not taking up all of the spots so that we do still have room on the other side for some left-facing leaves. I think I missed one. Was it this one? Yep, that's the one. Oh dear. Okay. That's the one. There was a duplicate. Yep. Okay, that didn't move. Okay. Now I'm going to do the left side. What's this guy? Okay. So now I'm going to do the left. Going to move him first. And again, the leaves aren't the primary part of this. The leaves are a piece of it. And so we don't want to get too carried away because we're also going to have flowers that are going to be covering these. Now, something I want to make sure that I do here is put some that go over. I'm actually going to bring this one up above now so that I don't lose track of it. This is going to be top leaf. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to duplicate. Oh, it's going to move it to the top again. That's fine. I'm going to go here. I'm going to move him down because I don't want to get confused. I'm going to go another one, duplicate. Let's go down here. And then I think that's it on leaves. Because again, we're dropping some flowers in here. So, yeah. Okay, so then let's get some specific positioning here. I'll start with this one that's on top. I want that to be, let's put it on this one actually, right here. I don't want it to cover too much. I like how it's subtle, but it can't be too much. Okay. All right, feels pretty good. Now we're going to go through these, and then I'm not going to go through and color all of the, I'm not going to get rid of all of the vine line work underneath yet on this one like I did on the other side. I'm going to instead focus on adding the flowers first because they're going to have a pretty sizable impact potentially to what it is we're doing. So this is just, let's go back to the pencil, see if that helps. Yep. So this is just a general layout of things and positioning. Okay. Now we're going to do this guy. It's amazing how just rotating these a little bit helps break the visual repetition of a pattern enough to make it not quite as evident, or at least as like overbearingly evident that you have the same resource used multiple times. And so, yeah, it's the same leaf, and I'm sure it's not impossible to figure that out, but just that little focus and that little attention to detail really does change the visual pattern that develops in a good way. So I'm finding more and more as I'm laying these out, these actually really make a lot more sense to kind of droop down, which is great because they're covering more of the vines, which will then create a little bit more layer, which is what I'm looking for here, is I want the depth that comes from layering these things. So it's good. We're moving in a good direction. Thanks to those that have been coming in and out on the stream. It's been interesting to watch the difference between the two, the earlier morning session and then this afternoon session. Early mornings, at least so far, appear to be very, very, they appear to be much more popular. We'll put it that way. And so love that you guys are able to join in. So yeah, thanks for doing that. And hopefully you're picking up some stuff. Hopefully you're benefiting from the time that you spend here. That's my hope. Pick up some tips on illustration and series graphics and whatever. For those of you watching after the fact, I appreciate that as well. As I think through the walkthrough of these things, like I found it to be helpful just to kind of talk through the process. Like it's helpful for me. It helps me get better at communicating that. And so I hope it's helpful for you as you're watching along, just picking up some of the tips or the insights. It's been a good exercise for me to be able to do that. I'm actually working with somebody right now who is a designer, and they're pretty new to the trade. And I was thinking about it. This stream has actually really helped me get better at walking through projects with them. And so I appreciate that. So, as much as you've demanded it, it's been a real help for me developmentally in my ability to communicate. So there you go. We're going to compress these down. I should copy a leaf again. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this guy, duplicate, and this is going to be my safe leaf down here with my frond. This is going to be leaf. Again, just building a little collection down here of resources that I have not edited. So if I'm like, I need to start over, I can. Lower leaf. leaves, Leaves, leaves. And this is going to be top leaf. Rename top leaf. Beautiful. Okay, so we have our lower leaves and we have our one upper leaf. And then now I'm going to do flowers before we get anywhere else. Rename flowers. Okay. So on the flowers, we need to decide what we want to do here. I feel like one of these. Nope, I don't like that. There's a kind that are like get rid of my vines, my leaves. There's a kind that's like this. that's not what it's like. That's not what it's like at all. Terrible. I pictured in my head. They're like like floppy. Maybe they're actually just like. I don't. And then they're like, they have like a flute. And then their stem thing. And then they kind of, I don't want to do like the trumpet vine flower. You know, I don't want to get into like the depth that way. Because the problem is then I feel like it needs to have depth in there. So I'm really looking at like a flat flower. That's kind of the ideal. I mean, typically I'll draw like, you know, the daisy kind of a thing. I don't feel like that belongs here. Daisies don't, that doesn't make no sense. Shoot. Let's see here. I don't even know the right terms for these types of flowers. They're like, I typed in fruit flower. All it's giving me is fruit baskets. That's not, that's not what I'm going for. Like a strawberry flower. That doesn't make sense. Just type in flowers. Okay, so we have a rose. We have a Gerber daisy. Ooh, plumeria plant. I like that. I mean, that could be interesting. So essentially the plumeria flower is just 5 circles. That's not enough. I'm accentuating this intentionally here. I mean, that, yeah, I feel like that's close to the vibe I'm going for. It is amazing how terrible this looks. Okay. What else we got? Do the star. Don't want a rose. I don't, and a daisy doesn't make sense. A Gerber daisy or any of that. So I don't like that. It's tricky business, man. You could do state flowers. You could do like, does Jerusalem have a national flower? That could be interesting. Let's see. What, not national, but let's see. flower of Jerusalem. How about that? Jerusalem flowers. There's passion fruit. Oh. I think that might be what I had in mind. What is that? It almost looks like a poppy. Huh. It's not exactly a poppy. It says close-up of colorful flowers from Jerusalem. But it doesn't tell me what type they are. It's a iStock image. These look like tropical flowers, and that's where it's a little bit confusing. Flowers of the Bahamas. Okay. That's not what I'm looking for either. Well, I'm just going to try drawing a 5-petal flower. I mean, let's try rotating it, right? Duplicate has been helping me so far. A duplicate again. Duplicate again. This might actually work. How about that? One more. Okay. Yeah, I think that could work. Not mad about it. Let's squish them all together, and then let's figure out what to do now. I'm going to alternate it. What? Oh, it undid it. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to alternate over, under, over, under. I'm going to start here because I don't really know where I'm going with this. So this guy. So these are going to have to stop somewhere. Where to stop them, I don't know. That's gone for sure. Probably, let's just go here. We're going to draw another circle somewhere. So just keep going. Let's do this. Cut it all like that. Okay, there we go. So now we're getting some sort of a flowery type of look, and then we're going to do that in the middle, and then I'm going to just pull these guys in. Do we like that? I don't know if we like that. Feels a little bit complicated for a flower. It actually almost looks rose-like. I don't like it at all. Dang it. I'm not really sure why this is so tricky. I used to draw, kids draw flowers all the time. You know, it's not like I haven't drawn flowers before. I don't draw them often, though. And I think probably what it is, I don't draw them as the subject. That's probably the big part of it that's tricky. That looks terrible. Get out of here. Okay. Try this again. Flower. Let's do that. Oh, you know what we could do also? Here, I didn't go this direction. Let me look real quick. This is for a church in the Pacific Northwest. And so Seattle. So Washington State flower. We can go that route too, you know? It is the rhododendron. That is not going to be what I'm going to draw. I don't know. It's a little bit wobbly. I could probably... maybe. How about that? I think that might be able to work. Rhododendron. Macrophylium. Sounds like a Harry Potter spell, actually. Let's look it up. Nope, I don't want that. I want some images. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. These are a little bit like pom-poms. There's like a ton of different flowers that all kind of combine to be like a larger bulb or whatever. I don't love it necessarily. Yeah, and even this, like, gosh, we're so close, but it's just not. I mean, maybe just a dot in the middle is enough. I don't know. And then you could do... I mean, I guess you could. You know, sort of flowery. I think you'd have to address this middle a little bit better than that. Let's see, maybe just a circle. It's hard because these kinds of flowers are always, they're the tubes, you know, they all go back to, like, yeah. And I'm not going to be able to draw that with enough, like, depth. And so I think that's what I'm looking for, is I'm just looking for a flat flower. Not that. Oh, did I? Oh, it undid it. Flower. Man, what a pain. I guess you could do bunches. I don't like that really a ton. You're getting closer to the rhododendron, though. And then it's just one color. Huh. I don't know. Maybe I'm onto something here. And then drop a little dot there in the middle for each of them. I mean, I could. And then go with a... We're going to go lighter in our colors here. Oh, that's actually a problem. I need to... Let's see what we look like here. I'm going to add another layer. It's a little too muted. I would prefer... Let's kick it up a notch. Let's take it a little bit more pink. It's too pink. Maybe not. All right, let's mute that just a touch. I mean, that could work. Yeah, so maybe rhododendron's the way to go. It doesn't really mimic it perfectly, but I think it's good enough to start copying it around. Let's go vines on. Insert it. Nope. Vines. Where's my leaves? What? Oh boy, that was scary. I thought all my leaves were gone. They gone. Okay, so now let's just say this is what we do. I do think I like them a little bit. Maybe I like them that small. Let's try it out. Gosh, this is a tricky one. Two more. Do one here. I'm going to do one up top. Up here. No, here. Yeah. And then that means that one. I'm going to move. Oh, did I do it? I didn't. I'm going to move that one up and over here. I like it better here. Doesn't have to be connected to the leaves, but whatever. All right. I don't know. Maybe. Shoot. Let's try. Throw some color behind these and just get a sense of things. We're gonna brighten up our color palette a little bit. We don't want this to be a depressing Easter. So I'm just gonna not draw, apparently. Erase. Okay. I'm just going to throw a general background behind these so I get a feel for it. Man, I don't hate it. I think it's kind of fun. Definitely does the flower vibe, like the life, the bountiful, whatever. I think that's going to work. I really do. Now, I think I can clean up the drawing of the flowers itself. So let's take a look at that. All right, new layer. We're going to go black. I do want to save this color, though, because I like it. I don't actually know if I know how to create my own palette, if I'm honest. Cards? Nope. So those are my options. Can I do... Nope. I don't want that. I want... That's fine. Oh, I did it. That's right. Now I remember. Okay. So black, and we want a smaller brush. Okay, we're going to go for that. So in the middle, with that, let's go for a 4. This will add some nice depth too. As I'm looking at this, I'll add a little touch of a shadow behind each. So like each overlapping leaf or flower petals or whatever will have a shadow attached to it. And so that'll add, I think, a nice depth. They're almost like hyacinths. Or sorry, hydrangeas. Hydrangeas. Okay, see what we think here. I dig it. Okay, and then I'm going to go. I'm just going to put the dots in. I'm not going to go with a colored dot. I think this will be sufficient. That's better. Yep, I like that a lot better. Okay, so I'm going to delete all these. And then I have my dots already where I'm going to be aligning it, so that's easy peasy. Great. Okay, so we have flowers. And we're going to duplicate. We're going to just send these guys around the place. All right, man. So much of this illustration is this like mental argument with yourself. Like, I don't know. Do I want it to be like this? Is this okay? Does this work all right? Goodness. It's just fascinating how much of this, like, I don't feel like it had to be that hard, but man, for some reason it was not clicking. And that's, I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But I think sometimes when you get impatient with the process, that's when your frustration level increases. But if you just reach a point where you're like, you know what, this is the way it's going to be, it's going to help. It helps you have a better perspective on the time that it takes. You get more patient with it. I think impatient art is bad. Like, it's not good. It's not good for you. It doesn't yield good product or a good final result. I'm going to do another duplicate. I'm going to add another one over here because this vine is a little bit desolate. So these guys all belong together. I'm going to add another leaf. I'm going to spell that correctly. I'm going to add another leaf somewhere over here because we're a little bit lonely in this area. So I want to make sure that we are okay. And moving this guy up with lower leaves. Oh, come on. Okay. These are, I'm going to move flowers just straight down, so we're not going to have issues. Okay. All right. Whew. I think we did it. Rename flowers. Okay. Oh, these are lower flowers. Okay, great. All right. We don't need, what is this? These are going to be lower leaves. Okay. We don't need this color layer. It's helpful on some levels, but it's not critical because I'm not going to color. I mean, maybe I should just color it that way. I mean, why not? Shoot. All right, let's do it. Rename flower colors. Okay. So one issue is going to be I got 2 layers here, and so I'm going to have to do, let's do this. Top plant colors. This is a part of why I don't like doing it this way. You have to create all these different layers that some sit over others and then others don't. as opposed to just erasing all the outlines and then having a layer where everything's whatever. You just have one color layer. It's fine. We're going to do it. We're going to go this way. We're going to start coloring. So this is going to have to be colored here. This probably will save me some time. We'll see, actually, you know. It's like 6 to 1, half dozen to the other. Sometimes it saves you time in one area and it costs you time in another. And so it just comes down to what's the time that you want to be spending. Where do you want to be spending it? Doing what task? So we shall see. All right. Go back through and clean it up. Okay. So that is that. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, really, my time here is just spent erasing instead of painting. Is that better? I don't know. Up to you, or I guess up to me, but that's what we're gonna do. So the next problem that we're going to have to solve is we're going to have to solve the vine. What do we want the vine to look like? My instinct at the moment is it's just green. And then it's going to have a light side and a dark side for shadow and highlight. My gut says that's all we need in order to finish, you know, kind of that cohesive look all the way through. The vine on the on one side, this is all gone. The vine in the middle for Good Friday, that's going to be different. That's going to be all brownish, grayish, whatever-ish that I decide to color that with. So that will be, we're going to have a transition in and out of that, which is great. But that will be a piece of what needs to get resolved. But outside of that, I think the heavy lifting of the layout and the details is finished. Now that we have flowers and we have leaves and we have palm fronds, those were really the three really complex things that we needed to negotiate here. So that's excellent that those are done. And I think from here, it's basically just coloring, you know. Now we just have a coloring book in front of us. We're going to have to worry about some of the layering, but it's not going to be so complex, I don't think. It's just going to be going through like we did before with the palm fronds, and we're going to be changing some of the layer, you know, what things are on top, what things are on the bottom, just based on the way that we, you know, erase the lines. But yeah, I think we are nearing the home stretch. I don't know if I'm going to keep streaming all the way through here. I think, you know, the big part for me with these streams, there's a couple layers to it. The first is that I have found that there's a lot of benefit in actually watching the process unfold. I know that we live in a culture that is very like, give me the 1 minute, or really not even that. Like, it's so funny as I look at analytics, I look at the shorts, the performance of the shorts that I post. Out of all of the shorts that I've posted, the best performing shorts are, I think the longest one is 22 seconds. So I mean, I have a full minute that I can work with a short, and people don't want a full minute of content, which is fascinating to me. And so, I mean, we're, you know, what are we? Let me look at the time here. We are, yeah, we're right at the 2 hour mark on this stream. And I'm like, I don't know if anybody's going to watch 2 hours of this. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, there's something that's really valuable about watching the process unfold, about hearing what goes into every decision that's being made. And so I actually think that if you spend the time and you watch a 2 hour session, or, you know, you watch a full stream like this, I think that you can learn some principles and some tactics for your own creative endeavors that you'll learn more in that stretch of time by watching a piece come to fruition than you will in, these 1 minute sound bites or 20-second sound bites. And so that's really my intent with the stream. I'm not just looking to like pad numbers or like get followers or whatever. I really am wanting to elevate the most impactful part of the creative process so that you can learn from those pieces of the creative process. It's taken me a long time to develop a workflow that it really puts me in a position to get work done reliably with good quality, and under tight deadlines. It takes a long time to develop something like that. And so my hope is that as you watch that happen, as you see those little shortcuts and little tricks, I guess, along the way, my hope is that it helps make you better as a creative, helps you get your job done more efficiently. I'm a big believer that there are 4 elements to the creative that really need to be nurtured. This is something I've been developing for quite a while now. I'm contemplating all of the different ways I can present this concept. I have a book in the back of my mind. I don't know if I have the time or the margin necessarily to actually turn it into a book. We'll see. It's on my like wish list at this point. But it's this idea that every creative is made up of 4, they call them the 4 creative cores, or the 4 cores of the creative. I go back and forth on how I refer to it, but skills is a major part of you getting your job done as a church communications person, whether you're the comm director, whether you're a solo person, whether you're an administrator that has been, backed your way into church communications. My story is that I went to school for graphic design, or that's not true. I went to school and then transitioned over to graphic design. I wanted to do 3D animation, and then I wanted to do architecture, and my college, Biola University, had neither of those programs. And so I was doing an independent study for a while in 3D animation to try to have that be the thing that I did. And it did not, I decided that I would rather have a stable program that I wasn't, developing myself, and transferred into the design department, the art department, really. And so graphic design was my major. So for me, the trade of what I'm doing has been something I've been pursuing for a long time. But in church communications, it's a different animal. You're doing a lot more than just executing. So that's my story. Yours may not be that. You may have backed your way into what you're doing. And anyway, we all have different pathways that have kind of gotten us to where we are. But my hope is that these videos are going to be helpful for you in improving the workflow, the way that you approach problems that you're solving, and ultimately just help you enjoy what you're doing in your job. I think a lot of times there's a tension where when we don't have the skills to get our job done, it's not a good place to be. And so I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anybody serving in the communications space. I want it to be something that you love doing. And when you love doing it, there's a better chance that you'll last. And so that's what I'm going for in even these streams. How do I help you do that? And then obviously we could chat through ChurchComm as well if you want. Shoot me a question or a comment or something. What are you wrestling with? What are the challenges that you're facing in the day-to-day of your job, in the day-to-day of your communications practice? What is it that you are navigating? Oh, that's my problem. So that's what all of these are meant to be. And so I hope it's helpful. Duplicate. This needs to go up. Running into a layer issue here. Lower flowers. Erase. I want to make sure all my layers are organized effectively here. So this guy there. So he goes up with that. And then I can actually do all the top organic material there. Perfect. Okay, so then I'm going to need to clean up this leaf. Ooh, that's going to be tricky. I shouldn't have combine those layers just yet. Oh, I think we'll be able to pull that off. How about that? Okay. Oh, and then also that guy, and then we're going to paint that back in here. Okay, great. That's looking pretty good. I think that'll be fun. It'll be a fun set of, yeah, I like that. And I'm going to have to go through and do the vine work here, but that's cool. I think this is going to be a pretty cool piece when it's all done. I'm very happy with how this is coming along. So anyway, sorry I got a little bit rambly there. But I really do want these to be streams that are not just let's watch a dude do a thing, but I really hope they're helpful for you in terms of navigating how you approach your job, how you approach the way that you communicate. So if there are ways that I can be helpful, man, shoot me a message, let me know, post a comment if you're watching this on demand after the fact. I would love to make these be more helpful to you by focusing on whatever content you're wrestling with and whatever things you want to be navigating, that you're working through. Things that you think, man, what would be really helpful is if I had a perspective on this, or even, be really helpful is how do you do this? How do you, design a project in InDesign? How do you Photoshop a whatever, like those types of things? Let me know. Happy to help. All right, I'm going to wrap here because really the next phases of this is going to be coloring. That was what that was a little bit of what I was trying to allude to at when I started talking about this stuff. I'm not going to be finishing this project on stream because the bulk of what I have left isn't really going to be that instructional. It's coloring, you know what I mean? So like, I don't want you to have to just sit here and watch coloring. And I know that you'll vote with your attention by clicking away if you're not interested, but there you go. I don't want to stream the coloring process on here because that's not the point of what I'm trying to do. So have a great rest of your day. This is being recorded on a Friday or being streamed on a Friday. And so enjoy your weekend if you're watching along or you catch it soon. But it's been a pleasure, and I am digging where we're going with it. All right, until next time, we will see ya.